not a party to the purchase agreement.
They discharged the,
Let me see if I
but
can.
they discharged it twice.
No, they didn't. They never voted the first time.
Yes, they did.
No, it was on the agenda.
It says to approve discharge unanimously carried July 13th, 2021.
But it was not done because the purchase agreement didn't change. It was never discharged. There is no discharge. And so in the purchase, there's still currently a mortgage on the property.
Okay.
The mortgage has not been discharged. The mortgage will not be discharged based on the motion that was passed in May. Will not be discharged unless Brownfield Authority is given a check in the amount of $250,000 from TCDC.
Okay, when is that supposed to happen?
Whenever they close.
When they close.
And if they don't close, then the mortgage stays on the property.
Okay, so even though they voted to discharge it, it didn't happen yet because there was no transfer of funds?
There was never, at that point it was premature to even brought that up. That shouldn't have been brought up.
Okay.
I wasn't at that meeting.
So there was a motion on it, but it didn't properly close and it wasn't
No,
completed?
there's been no sale and there's been no discharge of the mortgage. And
Okay,
that's
so-
why back in May, when I kind of got more involved, we had the first meeting and believe it was postponed, the vote was postponed because the motion came back and it didn't have a dollar figure attached to it. And so we came back at the next meeting where it was approved, where the dollar figure was actually in the motion, what was the actual consideration to be received by the Brownfield Authority for actually taking the mortgage off the property to transfer.
I see. So, Mr. Silver, could I ask that you send me an email with like the timeline exactly when, what you just said? And so, and I can go and check myself what.
Yeah, he said the July one, I don't think I was at, so I restate that. I knew that we had two meetings on it to clarify, through the chair, clarify which is question initially. I know that we had it on the agenda at two meetings I was at. The first, it was held off for the next meeting, and then the next meeting, we amended the order or motion, and it was approved.
Okay, that'd be great if you could send me an email just about the timeline, so when residents ask me, I can go look myself at the minutes and see, and I'll can respond properly to residents going forward, because it is kind of a confusing, thing. So like, even though you're telling us the answer, and I understand, but I would like it just so if I have to refer back to it again, and then maybe I can share it with Ms. Susan.
Yeah, the only thing I guess I want to end with is that the Brownfield Authority is being a reactive body to the request of TCDC and Ashley Capital. So it's up to them to bring things forward to that. The Brownfield Authority is not involved in any of the meetings. I don't think they've ever seen a purchase agreement.
Okay.
I'm 100% sure they've never seen the purchase agreement between Ashley Capital and TCDC.
Okay. Very good. So I'm going to get some more information for that, so we can address that in a timeline format for you and look at it all and give you a good answer, even though like I'm listening to it, even I'm not understanding it honestly, okay? So I want to see it for myself. So I'm going to look into it, or all of us probably, and then we're going to get back to you on that. I'm going to send you an email with the timeline, and then, we're here every 2 weeks, so you can come up and ask us.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So these minutes were approved, and he's telling us that this was null and void as of it was approved. It doesn't exist, is what he's stating.
No, Mr. So may I just say the way I'm understanding is that the Brownfield approved it. I'm not looking at the minutes like you are, but they approved it, but it wasn't finalized. So just because they approved it doesn't mean that a check, changed hands and it closed completely. So they approved it to happen, but sometimes it does happen where it doesn't complete. So, so I want to see where it came back, and I want to get a timeline on that for you. So,
Okay. So when Brownfield discharged in May of this year, discharged the indebtedness to the terms of the purchase agreement, not the amended purchase agreement, but the purchase agreement. So in April of this year, the tabled motion
information in front of me to address that, to see the way that it played out, but I understand what Mr. Silver is saying, that even though the Brownfield approved it, that it didn't, the money didn't exchange hands, and it was changed and then brought back. So at that point, it wasn't amended, it was a new purchase agreement at that point. So it was approved, but it didn't complete. But I'm gonna get you a timeline on that, okay? And
Okay, 'cause
so your concern is that the word amended, so what are you thinking that there's?
my concern, ma'am, was that they discharged the indebtedness twice. They didn't put it back in. You know, nowhere in any of these minutes does it state that that particular motion was null and void.
I understand,
At
sure.
no time did anyone ever go back and say, hey, you know, this motion doesn't exist anymore, or whatever. So these minutes read this way. So
I
if the minutes
understand.
read this way,
I understand.
then.
So I'm gonna look into that for you, and we're gonna get you an answer and get a timeline and, you know, get an opinion from the attorney for you on that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
Not on that, because that's probably.
Okay, well, let's give someone else a chance, and then
That's fine.
while you're seated, if you think of some more, no questions too small.
Thank
This
you.
is your opportunity to come up and ask questions about this, and I'm sure there'll be more after this, but I think it helps everybody at home, up here, to hear the questions and answers too. So, is there any other questions from the audience for the public hearing? Is there, Mr. Remick?
One question.
Mhm.
The property up there, are we doing any, do we maintain that property up there as a city?
I believe, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, I think TCDC is in charge of maintaining that, but do our people, I think our guys are doing it, but we're reimbursed.
Yeah,
Mr. Silver?
yeah, again, through the chair,
Thank
sorry.
you.
It's my understanding that, while TCDC is the owner, it is the city of Taylor, DPW, that periodically goes out and makes sure the fence is intact and that the stacks are there. Not anymore, now that it's been leased to, actually, they've been maintaining, doing all that work themselves, but prior to that, it was the DPW that was going by and checking, make sure the stacks weren't broken, if they were broken, they'd replace them, and the fence was cut,
The only reason I asked.
Mr. Ramick?
Because if, through the chair, because if we were, then we should be billing TCDC, paying for our personnel, which we're paying hourly to what we work. And that's all I'm saying. And you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I-
If we're gonna spread the money, let's do it right. That's all I'm asking. If in fact that was occurring and our guys are up there working, then we should be sending a bill, TCDC, they should be transferring money back to the city, wherever we're gonna put it, back in DPW or what, because that is, it's probably gone on for years. God only knows how much things that might have been done up there. But I'm just saying, if we're doing that, our guys are doing the work, we deserve the money.
As attorney, I can't comment on who's paying who, but I
Okay, very good.
Through the chair, I agree with Councilman Remick 100%, and that was, when we got into the meeting, that's what it was prior to the rental agreement a year ago. So I think that was the last time that we were aware, people's names that were in positions then was there to do the check. But since, I came in, the city has not done that, but the rental agreement has been in place. But yeah, if we're doing work for an outside entity that's associated with the city of Taylor, we can definitely bill them.
That makes sense, sure. Okay, Ms. Souza, do you have any other questions? If you do, come on up. No, you cannot from there. Yeah, come on.
Not at this time.
Okay. Well, probably because your questions were so good that maybe you answered some of the other people's questions, so that was good. Those were all good questions, and I hope you got some good answers. Is there any more interested parties in the audience? Is there any more comments from the council or the mayor? If not, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion?
Oh, support.
I have a motion